CD cross-match. So it's a bit slightly different. So first of all, IVIG and desensitization. So this was a study published a long time ago, 14 years ago, before Luminex technology was available. And in that randomized control trial in dialysis patients, the patients were given either IVIG or placebo. As you can see, IVIG were able to decrease to some extent the PRA levels. This study was performed in Baltimore a few years ago. This is a recent study whereby the patients were given IVIG 2 grams per kilogram on a monthly basis for 4 months, and these candidates had CPRA at 100 almost, not all, but a lot of them. And as you can see, for class 1, class 2, there was absolutely no efficacy of IVIG. And so IVIG are not useful for desensitization. In that study from Stanley Jordan, they combined to IVIG rituximab, and the addition of rituximab to IVIG was able to significantly decrease the PRA level, and this was true for class 1 and class 2. So even though it's not a randomized control trial, they were able to demonstrate that giving IVIG plus rituximab was successful and associated with good results in terms of patient survival and graft survival, even though about 2/3 of the patients developed acute ADMR post-transplantation. So what we are doing in my center in order to desensitize patients with high DSA levels, we perform immunoadsorption in order to lower down the DSA, plus rituximab, 2 injections, plus immunoadsorption, and thereafter, when the DSAs have gone, we transplant the patients. And so this was for living donors, and for deceased donors, we do the same. We implement immunosuppression plus immunoadsorption plus rituximab, and we try to wean off all the anti-HLA antibodies, and for the first deceased kidney that has a CDC negative cross-match, we transplant that kidney. So this is a plasma centrifugation machine. This is the first column that will remove mostly IgMs and some IgGs, and these are the 2 columns that work into tandems that will remove IgGs, and then the plasma is recirculating. So this is a typical case from my center. He was sensitized against class 1, and again class 2. You see all this many anti-HLA antibodies. And so this is the proof of concept. So at this point, the patients receive immunoadsorption plus membrane filtration, but without immunosuppression, without rituximab. As you can see for class 1 and for class 2, when you implement immunoadsorption plus membrane filtration, you are able to decrease the anti-HLA antibodies below a threshold of 5,000 of MFIs, for example. But when you stop immunoadsorption, you've got a huge rebound for class 1 and a huge rebound for class 2. And at this point, we restarted, but we added immunosuppression plus rituximab. And as you can see, we are able to decrease below 1,000 of MFIs for class 1 and below 2,000 of MFIs for class 2, and we were able to transplant the patient. So we need rituximab and immunosuppression plus immunoadsorption if we want to succeed. Okay, another way to desensitize is tocilizumab. So it's coming from the same group, Stanley Jordan. So they took into account 10 kidney transplant candidates that were unresponsive to IVIG and rituximab. And so in addition to, subsequently, they received IVIG plus tocilizumab on a monthly basis for 6 months. And if they were to be transplanted, they were given tocilizumab at the time of transplantation. So adding tocilizumab enabled half of the core to be transplanted. So this is pre-transplant at the time of transplantation. So they received in between tocilizumab. As you can see, there was a significant decrease in the immunodominant DSA. Pre-treatment, at transplant and post-transplantation. So tocilizumab is able to decrease DSAs in some patients and to achieve transplantation. So in conclusion, for this incompatible kidney transplantation, so ABO incompatible kidney transplantation results in very good results in the long term, and these results are comparable to those obtained for ABO compatible kidney transplantation, and this is related to accommodation. However, we may face humoral rejection mediated by isoagglutinins, but it always occurs within the first. Finally, HLA incompatible transplantation is possible. However, desensitization therapy is very expensive, and we need surely longer-term data in terms of graft survival.
Excellent. I will say this is really evolution of not having a compatible donors. So in a way, I will ask only one thing. Other than rejection, how many times the other complication and how much the cost is? I mean, how many fold or how many times the cost is more than the compatible transplantation?
So in my current center in Grenoble, we perform within 3 years 42 cases of ABO incompatible transplantation. We lost no transplant, and the additional cost